Who is John Banville? Good question. Who is John Banville today? But I mean, there is no John Banville. I, somewhere along the way, got a reputation of being a writer's writer. You can do no more damage to a writer than to call him a writer's writer, because other writers won't read you, except to find ammunition against you or to find how bad your work is. And readers won't read you because they'll say, oh, he's a writer's writer. I'm not a writer's writer. I write, first of all, for myself, as all writers do. And after that, when the book is finished, I want it to be read by readers, not by writers. God forbid. And I was starting to write when I thought that writers were magical beings. I started writing when I was about 12, and I've never stopped since. Most of the time I spent on my own, or at least most of the time that I remember now as being interesting, was on my own. And I suppose I was, like all of us, a very romantic adolescent. I mean, is there such a thing as an unromantic adolescent? When young writers say to me that they feel that they have something to express, I say, get rid of that immediately, right? You haven't got anything to express. Nobody's interested in what you want to say. What you have to do is make an object, put an object in the world that wasn't there, as they may be, and yet fixed forever in a luminous, unending instant. I need my own place. I need my own piece of blank wall. I envy people who can write on airplanes and, you know, when they're in foreign hotel rooms and so on. I can't do that. I could write journalism, I could write all kinds of things, but I can't write fiction when I'm away. I've got to be here. I'm not one of those people who gets up at 2 in the morning and works in the dark while everybody's asleep. Can't do that. I have to have the sounds of life around me, so long as they're outside the room. I don't want them in the room. But it's very important to me to have this space that I work in that is mine and that I know all the parameters of it, if that's the word. You know, I have my little tracks around this room. It's completely neutral. You know, I have photographs of my children and so on to comfort me, but when I'm working, all I see is a blank wall. Sometimes you stop in the middle of working day and say, what on earth am I doing? You know, I'm supposed to be an adult person. Why am I sitting here writing these burnished lies? For whom am I doing it? Why does it seem so important to me? Why is it consuming my life? And it's interesting because when I stop writing for the day and I have my first glass of wine and I begin to turn into something resembling a human being again, I can't remember, say I've written 4 or 5 sentences in the afternoon, which would be a good afternoon for me. I can't remember those sentences. I can remember the gist of them. I can't remember, because somebody else wrote them. The person sitting at the dinner table pretending to be human with a glass of wine in his hand is not the person who's sitting at the desk writing. Agents are very necessary when you're starting out because they have the contacts with publishers and newspapers, and you know, they move in that literary world, which is a very small world, no matter where it is.
You know, there's no threat there.
You're an outsider coming in. You're young, you're untried, and you need somebody to represent you.
You know, psychology 1, huh?
As you go on, you don't need an agent, as you did at the start. But you have to have somebody whom you know is absolutely on your side. When I talk to my agent, I know that he's going to, even if I make the most awful fool of myself in a book, he's going to say, well, you know, this may not be your best book, but we will sell it as well as we possibly can. And agents, I mean, I find at the moment my agent is chief. task to cheer me up. Ed Victor, he's a hotshot agent and loves life, and we have laughs and things like that. That's worth paying 10% for, I think. I wanted something new to happen. I wanted to be pushed in directions that I hadn't been going in before, because I needed to change, and Ed was very important for that.
And that's just what happened. I mean, I did push you in a different direction. He was in my office one day, and I asked him whether he liked reading thrillers. And I remember you said very sharply, "Why do you ask that?" And I said, "Well, because I represent the estate of Raymond Chandler. I represent Freddie Forsyth, Jack Higgins. I love thrillers." And John said, "Yeah, I like reading thrillers. I like Cimino," he said. A couple of days later, he rang me, and he said, "I know why you asked me if I like reading thrillers. You want me to write one?" And I said, "Yeah, I do. And I want you to write one under a completely open pseudonym." We ended up with the name Benjamin Black. He wanted to call himself Benjamin White, but I said, no, it has to be black if you're writing thrillers.
Well, I just began to read Cimino about 4 years ago. I hadn't read him before. What he called his hard novels are superb, like Monsieur Moon Vanishes, Dirty Snow. He did them so simply, with such a small vocabulary, such spare means, that I was fascinated by the effects that he could achieve with those spare means and that small vocabulary. And I decided to try my hand at it. I needed to give myself a little time out from being John Banville. So I've given myself a dark twin. He's a bit of an idiot. He's a bit slow. But you see, every time I talk about Benjamin Black, I realize I'm talking about Quirk, who is the protagonist of Benjamin Black's books, who's about 6'6", an enormous bear of a man, which, as you can see, I'm not. I'm playing a little bit, which is very dangerous indeed, because Benjamin Black could seep into the pores of John Banville's skin and invade him. And Benjamin Black could say to John Banville in that Faustian way, that Mephistophelian way, "Look how easy it is. Why don't you relax? Why don't you write easier books? The public would love you. Your publishers would be thrilled. You'd make a fortune." So one has to be very careful. Every now and then, I will write a sentence and I will get it absolutely right. It will be written. And I will hear a kind of ping that you get when you hit your nail on the side of a wine glass. There'll be that ding. Yes, that's absolutely right. That's what keeps me going. I often find that I will spend a day writing a paragraph, right? And then I look at my watch and I think, I'll stop now, it's 5:30, and then I think, no, I've got about 15 minutes. And I'll do something. And in that 15 minutes, the whole thing would be crystallized. Doesn't often happen, but it sometimes does. And those little moments of crystallization are probably the high points of the book in the end. My mother brought me up to feel that I was a god. I could do anything. Absolutely anything. There was nothing I could not do. And I'm eternally grateful to her for that. Both my parents did. They had lives that were constrained, that were narrow because of their circumstances of education, of class, of their financial situation. But for us, for their children, we were going to be gods.
Your new book, April in Spain, features Quirk, the beloved to us pathologist, in 1950s Dublin. And of course, it formerly would have been written under the name Benjamin Black. That's a name that you abandoned with Snow, your last novel, and you killed him off saying that you didn't need that rascal anymore. Why didn't you need him?
Why am I hiding behind a pseudonym? So I thought I'll kill off Benjamin. But the irony is that in Spain, where this book is set, I have to keep Benjamin Black because he is far more popular and well-known than Banville is. So a Spanish friend of mine said, "Oh yes, you're sending Quirk down to retire in Spain. You're sending Benjamin Black down to retire in Spain." Like, retired English stockbrokers and large criminals. So yes, I've sent Benjamin down to retire to Spain.
April in Spain, of course. And it's set in one of my favorite places in the whole world, San Sebastian, which is in the Basque country of Spain. Why did you choose San Sebastian as the setting of this?
Oh, it's very simple. I was at a book festival in, I think it was in Bilbao, and I stayed in San Sebastian for a few days at that wonderful hotel. And I fell in love with the place. And I thought, oh, I'll give Quirk a little holiday down here and then ruin his life. Of course, happens at the end of the book. I just wanted to get away from Ireland for a while and write about other places, other climates.
So here is Quirk in this hotel on this vacation he doesn't want to be on. He's now married happily to Evelyn, an Austrian Jewish psychiatrist. She's the perfect counterpoint to Quirk, and she's so good for him. Tell me about creating the character of Evelyn and why you brought her into Quirk's life.
Well, I mean, Quirk is a walking neurosis. It's perfect for him to marry a psychiatrist, a German psychiatrist at that. And she's delightful, and she brings joy into his life. She offers him the possibility of knowing himself, which of course is the last thing he wants to know. And I love her. She's a wonderful creature.
Alas, but
look, Evelyn is every woman I've ever known.
Really? How so?
But then every woman in my books is every woman I've ever known.
How so? How is Evelyn every woman you've ever known?
Oh, she understands Quirk in a way that Quirk could never understand himself. He certainly can't understand her. I mean, women to me are, God, again, the feminists will be out to get me, or whatever they're called nowadays. Women to me are an absolute, unending, delightful mystery. I would hate to get to a point where I felt that I understood women. I love the fact that I don't understand them. They understand me, unfortunately. They understand me well. I don't understand them. So she's a wonderful woman. But of course, poor old Quirk, she drags him on this holiday. Only people who are unhappy in their lives need holidays. Well, I'm perfectly happy in my life. I mean, for me, I would like a 7-day week. I hate weekends. A weekend Saturday mornings, and my God, what am I going to do with the day? And on holidays especially, I get into a panic. But in my Who's Who entry under hobbies or whatever it is, mine is work. Work is what I do for relaxation. I don't know why anybody would want not to work. I just wouldn't know what to do. And Quirk is like that. He can't understand why people want free time. Free time to me is a torment. And you know, I've always felt that one of the great forces in human affairs is the fear of boredom. One of the great unacknowledged forces. People will do anything in order not to be bored. They will create mayhem. They will start world wars in order not to be bored. They will elect unsuitable presidents so as not to be bored. And we're all the same. We do anything not to be bored. This is why I'm so lucky. I mean, I'm a writer. You're a writer. We always have something to do. Our minds are always occupied, 24 hours a day. I go to bed at night, and if on good nights when I fall asleep, the fiction starts up, these mad dreams. I go to other worlds, other countries, I become other people, I become young again, I'm dead, I come back to life. Everything is possible in dreams. This is this great, it's impossible to be bored in dreamland. Never thought about that? If things get begin to be even the slightest bit dull, the dream manager will send you to somewhere else. If only that could happen in life.
And the book has a shocking ending. It was shocking to me. I was not prepared for it. I doubt anyone who reads this book will be prepared for it. It's devastating and very effective. Tell me about how much you deliberated about this ending, or did you know when you started the book that this was how it was going to end?
No, I never know. I just make it up as I go along. This is a great joy of writing these books. One of the crime books that I wrote, I was 3 pages from the end. I still didn't know who had done the killing, and I didn't care. You know, Raymond Chandler famously said, I really don't care who killed Professor Plum with the lead pipe in the library. I don't care about plot. Plot is of no. You know, people say to me, oh, about my other books, my non-crime books, oh, you know, plot. I say, well, I don't think that life has a plot, do you? Life hasn't got a plot. Life is just drift. We drift and we drift and we think that we know what we're doing. And writing these books, as I say, I make it up as I go along. And I like to think that that's, one of their main qualities is quality of spontaneity. You know, when I was a little boy, I used to read Agatha Christie and so on. Of course, I enjoy them immensely. Agatha Christie is a great genius in her way, but it was like doing a crossword puzzle or a jigsaw puzzle. You know, when you do a crossword puzzle, you come to the end of it, you think, why did I spend that time doing that? It was empty time. I want people to feel alive when they're reading these books. I want readers to feel that, oh gosh, what's going to happen next? What's good, you know, not worrying about who did the crime. It doesn't matter who did the crime, who did the killing. Who done it is of no importance to me. Why done it maybe is of some consequence, but if you go back through the book, if you read it again, it's absolutely inevitable. The end is inevitable from the very beginning.